lovelies, I hope all is good in your neck of the wood. I thought today that I would share some sewing plans, many of which will probably not happen because these are sort of daydreamy, wafty, fantasy plans that I'm kind of thinking about. Before I jump in and share my might make, might not make sewing plans, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all the new subscribers and those of you who've left really lovely comments. I am just getting through the comments at the moment. They're really fantastic and I am thanking you from the bottom of my heart. And if you're new here and you like DIY vintage style and sewing and all sorts of that kind of goodness, feel free to give my channel a subscribe and like and share and do all the good stuff, because it really helps support me and I love making these videos for you. So I have so many ideas and some of them are things that have been on my mind for a while. I am definitely feeling very summery and fresh and spring-like, and I want my clothes to reflect that. Now, if you watched my recent makes video, the most recent makes video, because I've done a couple, I really feel like I have cracked my personal style. I've made all these blocks to my measurements along with my lovely Patreon supporters, and it just is a complete game changer because, you know, everything fits and it fits really well. And because I sort of know what it is that I want to wear, it makes life a little bit easier. Having said that, there are so many luscious things popping up on Instagram with a lot of the vintage people that I follow, designers that I follow, and then looking through lots of old reference books, you know, suddenly there's loads more ideas, and I've been trying not to spend too much money on new fabric because I have a rather hefty stash. So I have got some new bits, and then there are some bits from my stash and whatever, and some things I have firm ideas for, other things I'm kind of undecided. Some things I have the idea and not the fabric, some things I have the fabric and not the idea. When I am choosing what I'm going to wear, what I've really noticed is that the things that I'm enjoying the most and I feel the most amazing in are the vintage reproductions that I have pattern cut from scratch, just from pictures, from original dressmaking patterns, or just pictures of garments that I've seen on Pinterest land and Instagram land. So with that in mind, I'm not really buying patterns particularly at the moment, and even vintage patterns, which I'm a little bit addicted to. I am just kind of using reference material and I'm cutting my patterns from that, made to measure my size, and that seems to alleviate a lot of the sort of fail quota that can happen with those. But anyway, I digress. And then I'm going to completely contradict myself, because I was in a local shop and they have different traders selling vintage and bits and pieces, and there's one person there who sells Vivienne Westwood seconds and second hand, and as you may know, I do love Dame Viv. She is rather a hero of mine, and there was an amazing dress, and I think it was from the Anglomania range. I tried to find a picture of it, photo of it, I couldn't, so I've done a doodle here. So it's a button-up dress, kind of 50s. A lot of Vivienne Westwood stuff, even before her husband came along, was sort of 50s-ish. She was a teenager in the 50s, and I think she really loved the clothes of the 50s. So there's always like a bit of an echo of that time period there. And Andreas Kronsteiler is really massively into Charles James, and so the two of them, the mashup is that kind of 50s pin-up Charles James sort of silhouettes and shapes. Anyway, you don't really need to know that, but I saw the dress and it's just a button through dress. It's fairly simple to do, and despite my previous efforts to not buy black fabric or make things in black because I've got quite a lot of black clothes. I bought black fabric to make some black clothes. This is just a Minerva Crafts, or Minerva, not allowed to call it Minerva Crafts anymore. Naughty. Yeah, just a poplin, cotton poplin. The fabric of the dress was a sort of a satiny kind of finish, but I'm just going to make this sort of button down shirt dress, and I bought these really sweet little buttons which are going to be a bit difficult to see, but heart shaped buttons, and it's going to have a gathered neck but be fitted with a sort of tulip shape skirt, because much as I love that pencil skirt, that wiggle shape, I feel more comfortable. You can achieve that shape for those of us who are more voluptuous and plumptious. You can achieve that same kind of silhouette, but be a little bit more forgiving over the tummylicious parts of one's body. Next fabric, as I'm sorting through my stash, is a vintage, but I think it might be reproduction vintage. It might be like a Cath Kidston, but it is silk. And I want to make some kind of tea dress because basically I do wear dresses more than anything else. Found these really lovely 1930s, 40s tea dress styles. I have this terrible habit of just sort of remaking the same thing over and over again in different fabrics, and I'd really like to try not to do that. So one of these dresses, this sort of two, this one with the red hat and the green dress, are quite similar, but then we've got this sort of dress with shoulder yokes and kind of draping and a pointed waistline with waist ties at the back to make a pretty bow. Nothing quite like a pretty bow on one's derriere to make one feel fruity. And who wouldn't want to feel like that, you know? So one of those dresses will happen, and I will be drafting that pattern myself from scratch from my bespoke blocks. The next dress on the list is this one, the B5880 Retro Butterick from 1951. My kind of sweet spot for clothes really is that sort of first half of the 20th century, but I kind of really love the late 30s to maybe the very, very early 1960s. That's sort of where I focus, with a bit of Bieber and Hammer Horror thrown in, I suppose, if I'm being really... If I had to give a lift pitch on my personal style, it would go along those lines. Anyway, I made this dress quite a long time ago. It just didn't fit me. It was sort of, it was a real disappointment because I had some really beautiful fabric for it. But what I thought I would do is give it another whirl and sort of use a viscose rayon or challis or something like that, a kind of lightweight fabric, and sort of take the concept of this pattern but use my blocks and do a bespoke pattern from scratch, kind of using this existing pattern as a guideline. I don't really want to do these notches, but here's a couple that I found from Pinterest. The picture of this lady is a really fabulous Instagram account called Kiko Bells Vintage. I'll link her. She just is super stylish, and I thought this dress was lovely. I want it to be light, fresh and floral to wear on a very hot, warm, whatever kind of English seaside summer weather we're having day, with a huge humongous hat, like one of those kind of flying saucer hats. That would be really nice. So I haven't got the fabric for that yet. I'm on the looksy outsy. If you know of anything, put it in the comments and let me know. The next two fabrics again are Minerva fabrics. Now I was on the search for something like this. So pretty. It's probably like a quilting cotton really, but I don't mind using quilting cotton. This is, I've got 3 meters, it's on sale. I'll try to remember to link it, and everything else down to the side, wherever things are linked now. This is for a Patreon exclusive project, which is happening in June, because June is going to be rather a bumper month over on my Patreon, with loads and loads and loads and loads of goodies, because it's my birthday month, it's Marilyn Monroe's birthday month, it's the Queen's Platinum Jubilee month, it's Midsummer month, it's Roses and the End of Peonies month, there's probably some other kind of month that it is, so I'm just celebrating all of it. And I also got to my first goal on Patreon, so we are going to have a party over on Patreon. So this is an exclusive, top secret, not allowed to tell you, but they had it also in this incredible like absinthe green colour with the flowers on, which I absolutely, oh, love, love, love. So what I want to do with this is make a sort of dress and kind of lightweight jacket suit set. So they used to call them dresses in the 40s, like two-part dresses, and I suppose really you might call them something like a coordinate, or you might call them a summer suit. I don't really know what to call it, but anyway, I've found a few sort of variations of options. So I want to make a sort of a dress underneath, and then a short sleeve with puff little jacket with a kind of little peplum. I'll be designing it myself, or sort of semi-copying it, but adapting it from any or all of these options. To celebrate my birthday, one of the things that I'm doing, because I seem to be doing a few things, but one of the things that I'm doing is going with some friends to see the Disney exhibition at the Wallace Museum up in that there London. And then we're going to go and look at pretty ribbons in Vivi Rouleau. And then we're going to go and look at pretty fabrics in Liberty, which is my most favouriteest place in the whole wide world. And usually the sale is on around the time of my birthday, and I have my eye on some lovely Liberty prints. So that's what we're doing. And then we're going to round it off. Definitely going to have tea and cake, but we're going to round it off at Gordon's Wine Bar, which is just by Charing Cross, which is the station that we have to get to come back to Hastings. And yeah, Gordon's Wine Bar, which is been there forever, and we're going to have a little tipple to see us on our merry way home. So I'm really excited about that, and I just really love this fabric. They also do it in a lilac colourway, which is equally gorgeous, but I was just like, I really can't just buy loads and loads and loads of the same fabric, because this is basically what I do. I either just buy all the same fabric and make the same thing, and I need a little bit of excitement and, you know, I'm so unaware of what excitement is, I can't even think of another word for it. Let's just say va-va-voom. Oomph! Bearing in mind that I've just said that I just make the same thing over and over again, I'm going to make another one of these shirt dresses. Oh, fluffy, fluff. And I'm going to make it in this lovely periwinkle blue viscose crepe. It's an amazing colour, really pretty. I've got loads and loads of this. So, I mean, I've actually got enough of this to make like several dresses. So I have this, and then I also have these pieces of Celia Birtwell for Aussie Clark crepes from the 60s that my lovely friend Hula Hannah gave me. And there's quite a few bits of it, but not like enough to do sort of you know, a whole garment. So what I was wondering was using this kind of idea of picking out, so maybe doing the collar, the main body of the dress in the periwinkle blue, and then maybe doing like the collar and the facing, and maybe doing a cuff on the sleeve instead, and doing that in these, and then covering some buttons in this. A huge gap in my wardrobe, and something that I'm always thinking, oh, I really need more of this, is petticoats and, I mean, lingerie in general. So I had to sort through all my bridal fabrics, because I used to do bespoke bridal wear, and I found a couple of silks, just enough to do like maybe a shorter slip. And I have this 1930s slip pattern by Simplicity. I've never actually opened this out, but I'm using it again as a sort of a a guide and I'll cut a pattern to my measurements. And then I have one of my most treasured possessions is this really lovely Pretty Pretties. I'm making Pretty Pretties out of this stuff. And God, isn't it pretty? A book of lingerie sewing secrets. And this book is just filled with the most incredible drawings and inspiration. I have already made a dress and a blouse in this really beautiful cotton that I got from Jacob's Haberdashery. It's really fabulous. I bought this one, and this is a sort of a poplin, and then I've got a little bit of the Pima cotton left over. So what I want to do is I want to make one of my calypso tiered skirts out of the cotton, which is a really lovely summery easy make. It's a PDF that's available, I'll link. And then I bought the 1950s vintage and this was a bit of a mad moment for me, because actually all of these tops are backless, which is not really something that I am physiognomically, biologically built to deal with. Me and backless are not very well acquainted, because I am a boobalicious gal and I need scaffolding and rigging and all sorts to keep me buoyant. So a backless top is not really a very good idea. But, you know, what's the worst that can go wrong? I thought I would do version B, which is that one there, out of what I've got left of this. And even if I just sort of wear it at home, because in very hot weather, bras are just a bit sweaty, aren't they? So I'm just gonna give it a go and see, because it may be one of the best ideas I've ever had, but it may be one of the most stupid. I shall let you know. So over on Instagram, the very lovely Corey, who is just beautiful and funny and makes the most lovely things, persuaded me, because she looks so stunning, that I needed to have this pattern in my life. And there I am at the beginning of this saying I'm only going to be copying vintage things, blah de blah 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 blah, and hey ho, here's a modern pattern. But bear with me, the M7947, kind of like Marie Antoinette, milkmaidy, whatever. I mean, I live in a cottage, I need some cottagecore in my life, and I bought this broderie anglaise at a charity shop not so long ago. It's a lovely cotton one, and there's quite a bit of it. So I thought that I might make version A with the floofy sleeves. That's not what they're called, but like to have it as a top version, so that I could tuck it into, say for example, my calypso skirt. So that and that together, because this shape, I mean, it's actually really good for a sort of hot summer day if you made this in a very cool cotton, but this shape is not one that really works on my silhouette. So I like the idea of doing it as like a top to go with, say, a circle skirt, or even like a pencil skirt, or, you know, like the Deighton skirt style that I did a video of. Try to card it. As I'm coming up with my plans, I am trying to put together looks and yeah, make sensible decisions, but really my head keeps getting turned by all of these fabulous ideas. I will have shown you this fabric before. It's just a Florenza crepe from Minerva, but it's a lovely peachy vintagey colour, but this sort of dolman sleeve with a gathered skirt. I just feel like I want to do something like that, light and swishy. And then the last couple of fabrics, last few fabrics, I haven't particularly got, well, one of them I have got set in stone, but I have this one which I've shown you before, which was from Rainbow Fabrics Kilburn. I want to make some kind of 1930s tea dress with this. I did have a pattern in mind. I've changed my mind about the pattern in mind. Not really sure what I'm doing. Gonna have to sort of do a little bit of research, a little bit of thinking, and come up with something for that. Then I have this sort of heavy chambray in this lovely lilac. I've really gone for lilacs this time. This is going to be an exclusive project for my Diva and Icon tier, which is tier 3 and 4 over on Patreon. So bumper month on June, gonna get a whole outfit basically. And yeah, this is for that, but I'm not telling what it is because it's a treat for my lovely patrons. And then finally, phew, you're probably really relieved because you need the loo by now, is this stripe. I think it's like a poly cotton. I bought it ages ago, yonks ago, from Minerva, with the idea that I was going to do a shirt dress out of it. And I think I'm going to do a Bella tea dress, the Liberty London pattern, which is a copy of a 1930s Simplicity pattern, I think. So I think I'm going to do a nice stripy tea dress, sundress out of that. So I think that's going to keep me very busy indeed. And by the time I've made all of these things, it'll be autumn and I'll be needing to make a coat instead. Thank you so much for spending time with me in my little cottage by the sea while I ramble on about my maybe not, could do, could not make all of these things for my summer wardrobe. Let me know which ones you think are going to be interesting, and if you've got any suggestions for patterns or ideas for some of these fabrics that I don't know what I'm going to make yet, then pop it in the comments because it's always lovely to have your feedback. I hope, my lovelies, wherever you are in the world, you're keeping safe and well and you're getting time to do whatever kind of stitching it is that you enjoy the most. We can make the world a better place one stitch at a time, whether that just keeps our head sorted, our bodies looking fantabulous, or, you know, we're just doing our bit for the environment. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time, my lovelies. Until then, take care. Bye.